Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of A New Go of New Home Sales. And I'm John Lee, your host, but my co-host Anya isn't with us today, but we have a wonderful substitute, Sarah Williams, who's our director of sales. She's a wonderful substitute because today we're going to be talking about tech, which is her pride and joy because she talks to builders every day about, our interactive content, our apps, and also from her past experience working for a CRM and as an OSC and also in marketing and sales for a variety of builders. She's a perfect co-host to help us with today's conversation, which is about websites and technology. And, without further ado, we're talking to Chip Johnson with Builder Designs.
Welcome, Chip.
Hey. We have a lot of common clients, and we've been working together collaboratively and even sometimes competitively over the last 5 years. But we have no vested interest in each other. We've never had a partnership or anything like that. So we just have one thing in common here is we want to move this industry forward using technology and also help our customers get there. So we're just going to have a very open discussion and wait to see where it goes. So now you get the easy question here, Chip. First of all, just tell us about you, Builder Designs, your products, your services, and who are your typical clients?
Well, so Builder Designs has been around since 2008. I would actually before that, 2004 or 5, kind of a part-time gig, and then 2008 really got started and bought out my partner right in time for the market to crash, which is great timing on my part. But that's where we really got started. So we're a web design firm, a digital marketing agency. We've kind of pivoted away, not completely away from. Our core competency is still web design. Mm-hmm. That's what we do, all day, every day. We'll build 60 to 80 sites a year. But we pivoted into more of a digital marketing consultancy, providing clients with intel on, how your website's performing. Are you spending money in the right ways? Are you getting the traffic you should be getting? Are you converting? All the things that are really kind of factor into ROI and performance and all that stuff. Our core competency is web design. As I said, the primary customers for us it's a mixed bag. You've got big builders, the top 20. We've got in the top 100, I think we've got like 15 or 16 builders that we work with. And then a whole bunch of others. I think our total builder count is around 450. We have our back-end builder cloud CMS is we utilize that as a means for builders to send data to third-party sites and things like that. And I think if you count all those, it's over 800 that are using our platform. So we have access to a lot of data, and that's our strength maybe is that we can say overall macro, here's what people are doing, and then take it down to the top performer data, which we have about 25 builders we work with, where we do all the marketing and all the content strategy and all the SEO and all that. And we can look at their data and say, okay, here's how you compare to everybody else. And so that's the thing that really, when we sit down and have a discussion, we start there. What are you trying to accomplish? What are the goals? What are the challenges? And then let's talk about a way to go from here to here to here to here, because it's never from here to there. It takes time and you have to take those steps. But yeah, we the market right now that we're seeing, and John, you and I have talked about this, it's kind of all over the place. We just got done going through the whole, the COVID situation, which was bizarre at best, right. and
Unprecedented.
Any help selling homes, and now it's there's some that are still doing great and others that are really, scared and nervous, and so that drives a lot of behavior that we get we're the recipient of that, like,
right.
We need more traffic, we need it right now, that kind of thing.
Yes, I mean, you're leading into exactly what I want to talk about. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty about your business and all the technical details, but I don't want to lose anybody on the first 5 minutes here. Let's pull it back out to the whole macro in our industry here, because, we both have been in here, for a couple of decades now. And, in the last few years here, we've seen some massive changes in the marketplace, with interest rates, with pricing, with COVID, like you're saying, and then even consumer behaviors. Now the millennials have grown up and they're the biggest buying segment in new homes. And then we also had this wave of all this technology, that's in MarTech and, and sales tech, overall prop tech. How has that affected your business and your clients?
Well, prop tech is kind of the buzzword that everybody's using. I kind of feel like prop tech's always been here in one
Right.
way or the other. You know, when I think of prop tech, I think mainly of a, you know, online buying scenario. That's the thing that's been kind of been talked about in the periphery for a while. It's been kind of a goal for several years, but it just gained a lot of momentum in the last couple of years. It's you know, so in that front.
And why is that? Why did all of a sudden just gain momentum? Was it from
Well,
the
I think
consumers, or
buyer
is it from
behavior.
national builders, or is it from other portals?
Oh, you know, we started doing it for a guy down in Dallas, a builder that was, you know, doing a couple hundred homes a year. He
Okay,
just
so it's
wanted-
grassroots for you. You just started out
Yeah.
with a local builder. Okay.
We patterned our product around about 6 builders that we started with from that were all different builders, different products, different areas, and different needs, different back ends. I mean, there's a lot of, you know, variety. And so whenever I hear about you know, kind of a plugin, a buy it now plugin, I laugh because it doesn't, you know, that's somebody that doesn't understand what the technology behind what it really takes to make a online buying scenario work. But I think to answer your question, I think the buyer behavior has shifted, and you know, we've all got the Amazon mentality where we want to just go buy something, and
Right.
you know, I still think it's early in the game, but I mean, I've seen it work. I've seen it work firsthand. So have you. So I know that it's going to be, you know, based on what I'm seeing and hearing from builders that I'm working with, there's going to be pockets of success, and then it's going to gain a little bit more momentum, and then people are going to talk about it, and then it's going to be adopted. It's going to be, you know, kind of a slow roll. But I don't think there's any doubt about it that online buying is something that will be more common in the next couple of years.
I mean, I just want to chime in, Chip. You know, I work with the same, you know, similar builders as you do, and having these same conversations of you can't get from A to Z. So anyone that shows up and says, "Hey, I want buy now," it's like, okay, well, if you're a new person, we've never worked with you, we have to build the whole stage and get you to that final thing, you know. And when we launched our program, which you were simultaneously doing the same thing, we were all simultaneous, we got a lot of heat, right? A lot of heat, or a lot of, I like to call it snarky behavior from our industry. It's not from the builders. I didn't get any of that from home builders. I
No.
got it from industry, we'll just call them consultants or
Yeah.
experts. But they had a lot to say about, I know what we were doing, and you're in the same boat with us. So I'll just say what all of us were doing. And then I got some, and then it kind of fizzled down. And then since the market shifted, I got a couple snarky, I've seen some more snarkiness, you know, showing back up. And then people just straight up ask me like, "Oh, you must have seen it die down." I have not seen the interest die down. What's your, talk to me about what you guys are seeing, because
No, I
people
still
either
think-
want it or they don't, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you know, here's the thing about consultants. They don't like anything that isn't their idea,
Right.
right? You know, if it's not their idea, it's not good. I wouldn't go down that road. But I think what, you know, when I hear those comments, and I really only heard it from a couple different people, honestly. I didn't hear it from a lot of people, and it wasn't the builders that were going, "Hey, you know, that's not a good idea." The builders were concerned about what it was going to do to their salespeople.
Right.
That was their concern. And then, you know, how do you know, where do you take the money? What do you do with, you know, the leads? And there's a lot of things that need to be figured out, but none of those things were really huge hurdles that couldn't be overcome. And so, but, you know, consultants, you know, they use other people's technology. It's not their technology. So they could, you know, your tech stack, my tech stack is unique to us, and it's built custom for what we do with our other, you know, our CMS Builder Cloud and things like that. So how it integrates and how we roll it out is something that nobody really knows. And, you know, I just think it really speaks to the, you know, like I said, consultants, you know, they have their agenda, and if it doesn't suit them, then they're going to badmouth it. And, you know, that's okay. They can do that, because I think at the end of the day, technology is going to be the thing that's going to prevail. And, you know, when it comes to buy it now, and the thing that I tell everybody, and I believe 1000% is true, you know, putting a buy it now, you know, functionality on your app, on your website, is just providing one more avenue of engagement. And, you know, people can choose to do that, or they can choose to go the traditional way. I mean, it's just one more opportunity for them. And some people they like that. Younger people, you know, the ones that we've done exit interviews on that have actually done the whole thing, put in money, closed the contract and all that. They're like, yeah, no, this is cool. I mean, I don't know why I wasn't here before. So, you know, the consumer is going to push this, and whether a consultant thinks it's a good idea or not is going to be, you know, that I don't really worry about. I don't listen to the chatter, you know.
I totally agree with you. You know,
We're
you look
with
at
you.
consumer
Yeah.
behavior, you look at e-commerce, you look at the way millennials have grown up, they're expecting that in this complex purchase. And, you know, not everybody's going to be available to physically just even be there. So to have a electronic medium is, to me, it's almost just like a credit card. You're transacting using a convenience of an online, you know, digital platform versus say in person signing a contract and transferring funds. I mean, I think one of the things that consultants have positioned this is kind of like an either or thing. You know, you get this and it's going to eliminate that, or but I agree with you. It's another option of transaction, of convenience, and maybe even some cost savings. So since you're talking about consultants, you know, we are in a sense at the mercy of the consultants and influencers because, you know, builders trust them, they pay a lot for them. How would you go about, how would you tell builders to vet, you know, the consultants or know who to trust?
Um, hmm. You know, that's a good question. You know, that discussion, you know, if you're looking for something specific, like let's say OSC coaching, you know, I know, you know, we know people that do that well, that I would say, if you're really wanting to do something on the OSC side of things, then, you know, talk to this group. But I don't really, I kind of stay away from making recommendations, just because if I make a recommendation and then for whatever reason, and it could be anybody's fault, it could be the client, it could be the whoever, you know, if the experience is bad, then that reflects back on me. And so that's why, you know, in the past, you know, you too, when Lasso was still with Dave Clements and that whole thing, you know, we recommended them, you know, 100%. There's been a group of us that have kind of stayed together over the years, but that's all pretty much gone now. And everybody's kind of in this, you know, winner take all mentality, you know, and we want to offer everything. We want to be the primary source for all that stuff. And so I just think that builders have to, you know, what they need to do is look at the results that other builders are getting and say, you know, these guys seem like they understand what we're trying to do. And, you know, if it's a fit, it's a fit. You know, not everybody is. And consultants, you know, sales trainers, absolutely, there's a need for them 100%. But I don't recommend, you know, somebody to somebody else. I just kind of stay away from that.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that is probably bothersome to me is, you know, you and me have been in the forefront of technology. We've invested a lot in technology. We try to stay ahead of it. I mean, we've hired a lot of software developers. I mean, 1/3 of my 60+ staff is software developers now, and I'm sure a big part of yours is as well. So to me, we're always pushing tech. We're learning about tech. We're investing in it. But then sometimes you have consultants that come in and, you know, they're making those evaluations and those recommendations and those decisions based on their expertise. And I just feel like, you know, sometimes the builders may need to vet them, see, you know, what kind of experience they have, what kind of systems have they run, what kind of investments have they made, and what kind of success stories have they, you know, delivered.
Yeah.
Well, I would chime in and say, are they qualified to help you with whatever that problem that you're currently trying to figure out internally, right? So for me, I've been on the builder side, you know, hiring consultants and agencies, and I've also obviously been on the side of the tech company. But whoever you're talking to, the questions I think that you need to be asking, whoever it is, right? Whether it's your friend at another builder, what's the qualifications? Because the most costly advice is bad advice, right? So if someone's going to give you advice, but they have no qualifications to give it to you, it's going to cost you a heck of a lot of money to make that bad decision. So that's what I would say is, you know, make sure whoever is, you know, is telling you do this or don't do that, that they have some set of bearings. And if we can just tie back to buy now, because that's a feature. I always say it's not a product, it's a feature in both of our tech stacks. We're not building our whole company on a buy now because it's, we're not building our company on buy now. But if someone's going to give you advice on buy now, like and we'll just use that as a super simple, what's their qualifications to give you advice, or is it just their opinion?
Yeah.
That's the biggest difference. Is it real? Like, is it something that you should actually take stock in, or is it just someone's opinion about how they feel? And you also have to think about for me, if I'm paying someone, I'm always like, do they have an agenda in this? Like what's, to give me this or that. So if someone's like, oh, you should go talk to someone else, I'm like, what's your affiliation to that company? Do you have an affiliation to that company?
Well, speaking to that a little bit, Sarah, I mean, there's a question for you, Chip, here, put you on the spot. Do you think consultants have any obligations to disclose their sponsors or their partnerships or even ownerships in any of the companies they recommend? Should that be transparent? Should it be disclosed?
In a
It's
perfect
tricky.
world,
Yeah.
in a perfect world, yeah. That's one of the nice things about not having, I'm not involved with any other company, so I can.
Yeah, we're both independent.
The truth,
right? Same here. I have no investments, and nobody has investments in us.
I mean, if I was, I don't know. I mean, who knows? I mean, would it be nice to know that I'm making a recommendation to a company that I'm, financially invested in? Would it change my decision to do that? Maybe, I don't know. But, again, that's just something that everybody's got to, they've got their own roadmap they follow, and, that's just kind of the way it is.
Okay. All right, well, let's take you off the hot seat a little bit here. With all this technology, a lot of the builders here, and we experience this all the time. They're hesitant to embrace the new technology and all these changing processes. What would your advice be to them? Should they embrace it? Do they need to hire consultants? Do they, they need to start slow? How should they approach that?
Well, I'll give you an example of a builder. Two things. One, a big builder that we just started working with. We built a website, got it up and rolling, and we started going in and looking at the performance metrics, the data, the traffic, and all these things. Look at their AdWords, and then this was a builder that was spending over $50,000 a month on AdWords, and it wasn't connected back to analytics. And
must be a pretty big builder for $50,000 a month.
Big builder, and
okay.
So they were overspending on the cost per click. And so, we're able to come in and say, okay, hold on, time out. We're looking at this, and here's what I think you need to do. We need to come in and evaluate and, wind up saving them $20,000 a month and getting better metrics and data. And so, and they were working with a consultant that, the website component wasn't their expertise. So, they were paying a lot of money and weren't getting the best result. Is that an isolated case? I mean, I don't know. I think I hear things all the time from different builders that, we were doing this and this is what we got. And we, their feeling was they spent a whole bunch of money and arrived at the exact same place they would have if they wouldn't have done anything. I've heard stories of builders that followed a recommendation, built a website, and the site wasn't any better than what they had before, and they wished they could go back to the other one. So
all they did was spend extra money, waste some time, opportunity cost just to get back to where they started from. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So I think the starting point for, and another comment that I would say, and you've made this, you've said this before, that the building industry is kind of a tech laggard. What I would say is that we are making strides.
Big strides. In the last 3-4 years, I've seen more changes from a technology and even just the openness to technology than I have in the previous 10.
Yeah. And without a doubt. And so I think what I'm seeing is, an openness to, how can technology make my job better? How can how can we perform better and smarter? And how can we do things? I'm seeing a lot of ERP integrations, a lot of HubSpot, a lot of fine tuning, existing architecture to make it better. Not throwing the whole thing out the window and saying, let's just start everything new, fine tuning and the performance and incremental improvement is really what you can expect in those kinds of scenarios. And so I would say that, and especially now with data becoming, kind of the currency that we all, operate around, builders are open to, hey, show me, let me see. And if it's better, I'm all in, kind of thing. So for us, we strip out all the emotion and just look at the numbers and the data. and follow that path. And if you do that, if you're a home builder, if you've got that kind of plan of attack, I think you're on the right path.
It seems like you've expressed some of the synergy of going to a one-stop shop of not just the website development, but all those peripheral services there, that there's a lot of synergy by being the one that created to know how to use it and then how to interpret it. And then it's some efficiency in that whole process as well.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, if you're talking about marketing, and that's one of the things like I was mentioning before, we're doing a lot of campaigns on affordability right now. So that's front and center in everybody's mind. On the consumer side, they're like, okay, well, rates have gone up and prices are still high. I can't afford it. Well, no, you still can. And there's ways to do that, but you have to communicate that. And so let's say you need, you've got a social media campaign, but you've got a dedicated landing page that's got different calls to actions and things like that. They're all tied into HubSpot that go in through COVID. That's not an easy thing to do if you're on a WordPress framework or some kind of, basic website. So, the technology part of having everything underneath one roof, I mean, it's easier for us to roll that out for the client. They pay less money, and we're able to evaluate and course correct if needed. And so yeah, having everything in one house underneath one roof is, for me, makes a lot of sense. It makes our lives easier for sure.
All right, so you have a couple of different options for your builders, right? For websites, like from what I understand, so you can correct me if I'm wrong, like more of the custom, and then more of like I guess a fast start. I don't think that's what you guys call it, but something, a templated, like something that they can get up and running a little bit faster, or is it the same? And then what's for our listeners, I feel like personally, people look at revamping or retooling their website more often lately because of how fast everything's changing. So what would someone expect coming to Builder Designs? And we're not going to hold you to the numbers, but like you can give ranges, like for either just the whole, like what websites are going for now, or for, you can talk about your two offerings if you want.
And how long is the implementation usually?
Oh yeah, that's a great question too.
Yeah. Those are, I love answering those, because our idea and our theory, I don't even know if it's a theory, what we know to be true is that speed to market is important. If you're waiting a year to get a website built, then that's a problem. Our sites can be built in as little as 6 weeks. The blueprint product that you're talking about, I hate the word template, but
no, I'm sorry.
I'm trying. I know from a marketing standpoint, you probably don't want to say that.
Yeah,
but from an understanding to the audience, that's what I think Sarah was struggling with. How does the audience understand?
Yeah. Well, we like to break it down in terminology that builders understand. So we've got blueprints, and we rotate. We've got 6 blueprints. We rotate them out every year. And this is just like a virtual model row where you can go in and you can look at these sites, and they can all be customized, but the basic form and function, the layout and those kinds of things is all kind of set in stone. But you go in, but all of the UI components, they're all interchangeable. So we can come in, and you're not going to have something exactly like somebody down the street. It's going to be your site. But the good thing is we take those UI components out of the really highly successful sites that we do that are custom, and we roll those into these blueprint sites. And so if you're a guy that's, has a smaller budget of $12,000, you can get into a blueprint site, and then you can, scale it up from there. So, starting price is around 12 grand for a content managed blueprint site that it's going to be customized to you.
Well,
that's on par or even better than some WordPress sites.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I honestly, 95% of the sites that we get from builders are coming from a WordPress failed experiment where they started out and it looked good, but once, a year into it, 6 months into it, and they started having to change things and upgrade the plugins, and stuff stopped working. And so, yeah, I mean, not to bag on WordPress, because I think it can be if it's a very basic website, I think WordPress is a good option. It's cheap.
But they're not going to get to e-commerce or buying online, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, you roll in a CRM and ERP, and you've got an MLS import, and you've got a Zillow export. I mean, then all of a sudden you're talking, that's not for WordPress, in my opinion. there's other people that would say, no, you're wrong, but I'm just telling you what I see when builders come to us with WordPress. But yeah, the basic in the door is $12,000 starts, and then kind of goes up from there based on what you need. It's all a la carte, so you can add in different components and things like that. You may have a blueprint site that winds up being $20,000 at the end of the day after you've added all the stuff into it, but it's a custom, it's a semi-custom site is what I would say. Then the full-on custom sites, which are kind of like if you're a home builder, it's, bring your architects, we're going to draw a set of plans and we're going to do something that is 100% you. Those are 50,000 and up. We've got some that were $150,000, big sites. But what makes those things expensive isn't the size of the, every models, plans, inventory, communities, all that stuff. That there's only so many different ways you can
Right.
display that on the front end. This is more of a back end execution, the tech stack, all of the ERP integrations, the custom exports, imports, all the stuff that makes websites today so complicated that that's what drives those costs, and it's something that is 100% custom to you. So they
They're
can
both those endpoints ranges. Are they both sitting on top of the same builder cloud CMS content management system?
Yep.
So they all still have the same engine, but some
Yep.
have more functionality using that engine than
Right.
others, like for Zillow
Yeah.
feeds or BDX feeds.
Yeah, so our back end, so Builder Cloud, it's like a DXP, digital experience platform. So it's kind of, think of it like, you've got a decoupled, you've got the back end, the CMS Builder Cloud,
Right.
and you've got a front end, which is the website. The front end can be anything from, A to Z, big, small, whatever. And that's a total scalable product on the front end. So, but the back end part, which is where all of the heavy lifting occurs. So all the exports, the imports, ERPs, and all that stuff that I mentioned, that's all baked into that. So if you want to have, for example, if we want to tie into your API and pull in models and plans and stuff like we've done on
We've
sites,
done it many times. Yes.
that's where all that hains. So you can make it so it's seamless. It doesn't look like it's an iframe and all that stuff. So
Right.
those are the things that really separate the kind of the okay sites from the really good sites that perform at a high level.
Yes, and I mean, it also helps not just with the UI, but the whole customer journey and even the analytics of it. I mean, the more that you have within your network and your system, it's faster, it's less redundancy and errors, and it's easier to interpret for both consultants or even the builders themselves.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing that's kind of nice about the way that we do it is that, every 3 years you need to probably upgrade. But for us, for our customers, you're not having to upgrade the entire site. That back end is still the back end.
Right.
All your data, it's all still
Same
there.
with us with our apps. We have our CMS, our dashboard, and that engine continue to evolve all the time. So when you change your front end UI, in a sense, the back end engine is still running. It's still
yeah. So you can come in on the front end and update your website on the front end to make it look different, add in new functionality, add in a buy it now or whatever. It's just you just turn it on.
Exactly.
So that's our product is similar to yours. Ours is a single page app. It's not when you think about it, it's a traditional website. You've got page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right. Very static, very compartmentalized.
And every time you go from page 1 to page 2, you're calling the server and downloading that page. Ours is a single page app, so you download it one time, and then all the data rolls in incrementally after that. So it's super fast.
And scrollable, especially on mobile. And you and me are speaking the same language. I don't want to throw anybody else off, but I mean, you almost have to kind of see it and play around with it to experience it. But the real devil's in the details, which is behind the scenes. I think a lot of marketing people, and us included, relating with content, everybody's caught up with the eye candy. What they're not evaluating is all the things that make that stuff work. And that data is now the lifeblood of new home marketing. And I would even lead to the next conversation I would have is, with all the stuff going online, traditionally marketing and sales have been two disparate functions, and basically over time, and Sarah can address this because she was OSC of the year, but OSCs were kind of brought in as kind of the middle person to translate that online marketing experience to an on-site salesperson. But are you starting to see through your websites and obviously with your buy now that you're starting to see a convergence of marketing and sales online and the whole customer journey being the digital journey? Are you into that, or
Yeah, you know, I think so. I mean, it's
sales centers?
yeah, I mean, there's the yeah, the short answer is yes. I mean, I think that's the evolution. I mean, if you just look at print, for example, you know,
Right.
how much print are sales offices doing anymore? You know,
Right.
I mean, or is it a kiosk? You know, we're doing a lot more of the kiosk type
Right.
installations than we are anything else. I think the whole idea is to provide the buyer with every possible avenue to engage. And if they would rather do it the old fashioned way, then I think that, you know, you still offer that. But boy, I tell you what, if it was me, I would be going all in on the digital side and the sales journey and the sales marketing, all that. I mean, it's just a matter of time before it's all 100% digital.
Yes, I would
agree.
concur with that. I mean,
Yeah,
I
we
feel like
agree.
creating the content, and I want you to answer because I don't want to influence you in a sense, but you know, on our side, I always feel like content is at the tip of the spear. We're fundamental to anything, any channel, any stage you put us on, you still need that content. Otherwise, there's nothing to do. And because you know, when we used to even have a printing company, and there was a time here where all your format was around print, and then it became around thumbnails and websites. Now, you know, it has to be on mobile, it has to be on sales kiosks, big screen, small screen, anytime. And all that kind of stuff, to me, is indicating that data and our data drives our visualizations because it's real-time rendering. And I'm not here to promote anything here really, but to just explain what's happening. On top of, obviously, the website channel is the home base for the builder and the storefront. But you're seeing this proliferation of all these channels and social media, even now TikTok, and you don't know where it's coming from. So you need to have that data be everywhere, anytime, anywhere, anyhow. And that buyer should be able to traverse that, whether it's starting from the point of sales at Sales Center back to your website or vice versa. So I really am starting to see this seamless integration of marketing and sales instead of this disjointed one, because it's not coming down one set path anymore.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, it's kind of like, and I think this goes back to the whole the hesitancy for consultants, sales consultants, whatever, to embrace online buying because it bypasses so many of the things you just
right.
mentioned.
You don't have to go down, you know, steps A to B to C. You can go from A to D.
Yeah, yeah, right. And that makes people nervous, and I understand that. You know, if I'm a sales guy, that you know, I mean, it's important that I still, you know, can make a living and all that. And to which I say, I 100% hope that there's a place to still have traditional sales involved, and I think there is. But what I think and what I want to have happen, and what the consumer sentiment, what they drive, it's just like when I go into, you know, Whole Foods and check out automatically without having anybody there. I mean, I didn't like it at first, but I'm used to it now. And so, I mean, I just think that we, as technologists, we have to be open to the idea that could become commonplace. And let's don't wait on the sidelines and let everybody else figure it out. Let's at least understand it and have a plan in place so that we can evaluate it. We can test it in a couple of markets and a couple of neighborhoods or whatever, just so that we understand here's what this means to us. Because I don't think waiting around and letting everybody else figure it out is really a smart strategy.
And I totally echo that piece, because one of the biggest fears, and I know Sarah can relate to this a little bit, is that fear, uncertainty, and doubt that some people are trying to convey. But part of this fear is, you know, I know builders are kind of hesitant to embrace technology, and it's a big strategic and costly endeavor. But here's what's happening in the macro level. Technology is changing faster than ever. So and I used to work in Silicon Valley. They live and breathe in a warp speed versus the rest of the world. So they're moving very fast. On the other side over here, even when you decide, okay, today I'm going to decide to do that, it takes years to prepare your content, your systems, your people to prepare for that. So that gap is not 3 years. If technology is moving 3 years, it's actually whatever's 3 years ahead and you're 5 years behind. That gap only gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And at some point here, you actually can't even chase the technologies. You have to live with what you got.
Well,
what do you say about that, Sarah?
No, well, John, I mean, we talk about this internally, Chip, is that, you know, when again, I hate to keep bringing it back to buy now, but that's like the latest, that was like the buzz thing, you know, at IBS and everything. But it was like, all right, someone comes to me and says, I want to do this, but they're not currently working with us. They're brand new to a Nugo or to Builder Designs. You know, we have to start them all the way at point A, right? And then work their way to get them to Z, whatever their initiative or whatever their goals are. But if they're already a client with us, they've already got a bunch of the key components in place. So maybe they're already to M, and then I have to just get them from M to Z. But that's I mean, my job, Chip's job, John, your job is always to sit with the client, be like, what's your goal? Chip, you said that, like, figure out what the goals are. And then our job is to help them prepare. So if they're telling me, well, we're just thinking about it, or their advice in their ear from someone that's a little bit fearful because they don't really know how to guide them, they're like, well, just wait, give it some time, don't do this. You know, again, back to maybe some consultants out there, because they're not really sure how this all works. If you keep waiting, that gap, if you haven't even started at point A with Builder Designs or a Nugo, fill in the blank, doesn't matter. I don't care who it is. You're now 2, 3, 5 years later, because by the time you get your act together and your investment, you know, the money that it takes just even to get content. I mean, we have folks that don't even have interactive floor plans that show up. Chip, I know you're probably the same way, or interactive site map. They're not even engaged with interactive content yet. So we have to build that whole portfolio with them in order for them to be able to do anything else digitally. So it's definitely something that, like, I'm constantly coaching people through every single day that want this holy grail. I'm like, all right, we have to start here. And it could take them 2 years just in their budget to get them to where they really want to go. But if they keep waiting to start, they could be 5 years down the road, and they're going to be, I hate to say left behind, but they're not going to be left behind. They're just going to be trying to play catch up with all the other folks that started investing sooner.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah. I mean, the reality is, we mainly deal with the smaller builders, both of us, but the national builders, they have huge tech teams and departments and budgets that are working toward that. And, you know, some of them already are doing that. And this is a true story. Back in 2021, when I think it was like 2021, when COVID first started and nobody was showing up at any of the sales centers and everybody was freaking out, and they and all of a sudden they were worried about how they would get sales. And 2 national home builders actually called me up and says, hey, I remember you were talking to us about that buy now thing, and like, we want to buy that now. And I'm like, you can't just
you can't turn around the cruise ship.
That's not
easily,
the message.
Yeah.
And so they're actually were texting me and trying to get me to respond. And I said, no, this actually will take you years to build up to prepare for that. And fortunately, you know, COVID kind of just sparked the demand, and they were able to get by, and, you know, some things changed. But since that thing happened, and we couldn't save them, they start to invest in that wholeheartedly themselves, and even start to broadcast to Wall Street, which is their investors. And now you even see the portals like Open Door with Zillow. They're doing that on the existing home space. It's going to come to new homes. If new homes is going to compete against used homes and compete against national builders and such, I hate to say it, but you and me are kind of at the forefront. So we may be a risky bet, but we may be the only bet.
Well, I agree. It's not a market, it's a behavior. You know, when someone's like, oh, the market's driving this. Well, everybody already shopped online. Now, even more people started buying groceries and all the other things online, but it's a behavior that's driving this, not the market.
It's not what we want. It's what the consumers want.
It's a shopper behavior. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Well, I was gonna, you know, it's funny. I was gonna show you guys this. So I was cleaning our basement out, and I came across this little mini CD-ROM.
What is that?
I love it.
Okay, so this was
a CD-ROM. For people that are under 25, you may have to explain what that is.
Yeah, exactly. A mini one, no less. And so this one is this was 20 years ago. I lucked into a deal. I knew somebody that was working at Procter & Gamble, and I was doing interactive CD stuff for other things. And so this is a joint venture between Sprite and Pringles. And this was the thing that I was just sure I was going to make millions and millions of dollars. And, you know, that thing came and went like that. And, you know, technology moved forward, and, you know, nobody's using CDs anymore and things. So the point of this whole story is that while you can't just jump in the deep end without any plan, you can have a plan, and you can embrace technology, and you can as long as you've got somebody that's guiding you along the way that's been there and done that before, you really mitigate your risk, and you can be on the forefront without, really taking, a huge risk on this could, completely upset the entire business model, because that's not smart either. You want to take risk, but you want to minimize the risk when you're talking about new tech initiatives or whatever it is. Buy it now
Yeah,
or anything else.
I would echo
Do
that
something
too,
else.
in that, you may not be ready to jump all in. You may not even know how to make the proposition to convince your owners to jump all in, but you should at least be educated so that when somebody's making a recommendation or direction, you know how to respond to it and how to evaluate it, and maybe just take small steps. I mean, just the whole analogy with the CDs. Remember when Blockbuster used to be on every block? And now I think there's only one left in Oregon, and that's just because it's a museum. I mean, so
Right.
yeah, so they used to own the block, and now they're not. Now their heads are off the block. So
Well, and Netflix, we were mailing. I just put this on my social media, John. When Netflix, they're like, "Don't worry, we used to use snail mail to mail in the CD, like
right,
the CDs or DVDs." Yeah. So Netflix started out that way. So I think there's a progression, and I think the three of us can agree. We've all been doing this a long time. I mean, heck, we hosted a conference called Home Builder Tech, right? Like all three, when I worked at a different company. So we're constantly going to promote, and I don't think anyone on this call is going to stop pushing the
mhm.
envelope. Whatever's coming next, I mean, that's why I was super excited to do this call today, because John and Chip, you two have been pushing builders just to think differently and to kind of get ahead of things before. And I think the two, and now I'm a lot, work here at Nugo, but the two companies are always looked at as, trusted thought leaders and trusted companies who, if you're going to go with the tech company, these are the two, or at least you two being the owners of the company, are definitely know what's going on and know where things are headed before most folks. And I think you two are probably the ones whispering in other people's ears, like, this is what's about to happen, whether it's here now, this is what's going to happen. And you're kind of, spreading it, until it becomes mainstream. And I think that that's why builders have invested in builder designs, and builders come to what was formerly Rendering House, Anugo, just because they're like, John and Chip, they're always
We've
go
been
to
here a
them to
long
find out what's
time,
going
and
on. Yeah.
well, this is probably a good way to wrap this up, and we're coming close to an hour here. I
Yeah.
just think maybe this is a good chance for you to kind of wrap this up here, Chip. With all these things that are happening in our industry, particularly with technology, what should the builders' priorities be? I mean, what technology should they be concerned about and focused on right now in the near term?
Well, I mean, it depends where you are, let's just use a builder that is, doing 300 homes a year, and they've got the capacity to continue to do at that pace for the next 5 years. What are the things they should be doing? I mean, because it's different for everybody.
Right, it's different for everyone, but is there some common things or some near-term things that you must start to get your act together on?
The one thing that we do, it's a new program that we launched right around January of last year. It's a Builder Success Program, and that is it's just nothing more than a monthly call with me, with my CTO and our marketing people, to say, this is what we're seeing, this is what we're looking at, and this is what we think is going to happen. We do that once a month with our builder partners and say, here's what we know to be true. Here's something that you should be aware of. And maybe this is something you think about putting on your roadmap so that you can do that in first quarter of 2023. So, I mean, really, I think the thing that we bring to the table, and you do too, is if you're thinking about interactive content, or you're building a website and you have a marketing initiative that you want to roll out, or a campaign, talk to people that are in the trenches doing it every single day. And because, like I said, we have more data. I mean, I don't want to say more data than anybody, but you think about all the builders that are using builder designs. We look at all that data. There's a lot of things that you can draw from that, and you can look at patterns, and then you can look and see, okay, here's what's really working well. This is my recommendation.
Exactly.
And then go do it.
I think those are good words of advice, and actually, maybe it's a good idea for us that maybe every quarter we can actually have a little tech talk between ourselves and maybe some other tech leaders in our industry, and kind of give them a pulse of what's happening, because I think those technology milestones are coming closer and closer together, and they're becoming bigger and bigger impacts.
Mhm.
And so if we're open to having a very frank discussion, let's look at the ugly side as well as the beautiful side, because I think some people only talk about the pretty stuff.
Yeah.
And some of it actually is pretty ugly stuff. So I don't want to scare everybody off today, but there
No,
are
but we
some
do a
things
lot
that
of
are
work,
technical.
right? Some of it's not the glamorous work.
It's not
called work
glamorous.
for a reason, right?
You know,
It's work.
for somebody to come, and I don't even get to this whole part about misconceptions and misleading. For somebody to come in there and says, hey, if you use these guys, they are the holy grail and they're going to save you and take you to the promised land. They're going to probably take you through hell first. And even for us ourselves, there's a lot of stuff that you have to do to prepare yourself to have the content that is engaging for your consumers.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a lot of work involved
Right.
for anybody, right? And I
There,
think
there
that
is no
that's-
silver bullet.
There it is,
Mm,
John.
yeah.
There's no silver bullet. If there's work to be done, if you're trying to revamp your website, revamp your digital content.
And it's
portfolio,
coordination, because
prepare.
as much as sometimes it seems like we are, I want to say there's a little blame game sometimes between me and the website people and content. But at the same time, if we're working toward a common goal and we know that we're not trying to take advantage of the builder, we get our fair share. When the builder grows, we all grow with it, as opposed to trying to play tug of war all the time, because it
Mhm.
doesn't help anyone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I think, yeah, just kind of wrap this whole thing up. My big thing, that the reason I'm still doing this and then just as hot into this as I've ever been, is because I see right now the opportunity is bigger than it's ever been in technology to adopt the things that are going to really provide builders with the leverage to move forward quicker, accelerate their growth, things like that. Technology is going to be the tool that does that. And so for me, being right in the middle of all that and seeing all the data is, I mean, that's what's fun. That's what I love doing this work.
Perfect way to wrap it up. I
thank you,
totally
Chip.
believe with what you're saying. Yeah. So really appreciate your time and your openness and frankness. And yeah, let's do it again sometime.
Yeah, you bet. All right.
All right.
Hey, see you guys.